August 1st marks the day that the European Union's AI Act becomes enforceable. It is the first ever legal framework on artificial intelligence and positions Europe to play a leading role in AI moving forward. Okay, to expand on what this new legislation means, not just for the EU, but all around the globe, we are joined by Ofer Mendelevitch. He is the head of developer relations at Vectara, a generative artificial intelligence company. Thanks for joining us, Ofer. I appreciate it. Now,
Thanks for having me.
This new measure, the first of its kind, is being portrayed as something that will bring some very big changes to major U.S. tech companies. I'd like you to weigh in on that.
Sure. Look, I think AI is a really powerful tool. The progress we've seen in the last year and a half is nothing short but incredible, but it comes with its own risks. And I think regulating it, generally speaking, is a really good idea. But as you suggested in your question, there is impact on companies depending on if they're large or small. And there is this risk that they become overwhelmed with regulatory tasks and things that they have to do to make sure they comply with the regulation. And that can have a severe impact in terms of their ability to innovate.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the big and the small because it's going to affect all these companies. So let's start out by how are the big names reacting so far? Do you believe this is the first of what could be many measures designed to control how AI is developed and therefore used?
Yeah, I mean, the big companies, have more resources to think about the regulation, understand the regulation, and comply with the regulation. Usually, regulations mean they have a lot of, tasks they have to do. They have to report things, they have to audit things, they have to follow different rules. And typically, big companies are more capable of doing that. If you're a small company, you have a much harder time doing that. And that causes something usually called also regulatory capture, which is this idea that small and big companies don't have the same impact on them. Usually small companies suffer more and they're not able to innovate as much.
Yeah, and among the criticisms, the EU, compared to China and the United States, just doesn't sink a lot of money into AI research and development right now. So twofold. One, should the EU be the one regulating this right now? And secondly, do you think it's going to have a sobering effect, a more sobering effect in Europe when it does come to possible AI development?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective on that is actually, I get it that the EU is regulating first, and I think somebody has to. I would really like to see us all honestly come together this should be a worldwide effort, in my opinion, to regulate everything together. Because if we end up with different regulations in different parts of the world, that even compounds the effort needed to comply with these regulations. Furthermore, again, for small and large companies. And I think this is a big shift in technology, a big capability. I'm personally very excited about the positive impact this could have in the world. And as I said, I think regulation is really important, but I don't want to see the regulation being an inhibitor to get all the benefit that we can get from it. So I really, if I can call everybody from here, say like, I would like to see a big ecosystem of partnerships around the world to make this regulation more sustainable for everyone.
Yeah, but I think that different companies have different issues, different designs, different desires. So how might this pave the way for other AI-related rules?
I think it'll definitely have an impact, right? People will look at this. And the other thing that happens is a lot of these regulations are open to comments from different companies, big and small. And the comments will influence how ultimately regulators will respond. And so I think definitely this first rule, the AI Act from Europe, is going to impact the rest of the regulations.
Okay, so the big question, what are China and the United States doing right now? Are they waiting for the other shoe to drop with other countries in step to follow these guidelines, or are they pushing back?
To be honest, I don't know the details of that. I'm not a regulator.
Sure.
But from my knowledge that I do have, I think there is efforts to define regulations across different areas. I know in the US there is one. Honestly, not really sure about China.
Well, now you talked about some of the positives coming out of this. Kind of expand on that, if you will, what you see other than everybody sitting around saying kumbaya, working on the same page. What are some of the positives that could come out from some kind of measure like this that the EU has pushed through?
The positive of regulation, yeah. So, look, we want to make sure that AI, I mean, we're all looking at ChatGPT and retrieval augmented generation and things like this that are very positive for the businesses and the consumers that get services. But there is a risk of AI. AI could be used for harm. And essentially, the way I think about it is you don't want it to be used for harm. You want to make sure the regulation prevents or at least penalizes and makes it harder to use AI for harm.
Right,
A
right.
good example might be if I fake somebody's voice using AI to hack into their account. Well, I don't want that to be possible. I want it to be really hard to do.
So it does get everybody on the same page. There are guidelines out there, and it certainly is moving forward. Ofer Mendelevitch, I can't thank you enough for your insight. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.